on, everybody? Welcome back to an exciting, fascinating, captivating episode of the Viall Files Going Deeper edition. I'm your host, Nick, joined by Allie and Amanda. Sometimes Allie, she's just in a mood. We do have a great episode for you. Colby and Madlyn from the Ultimatum join us today for a Going Deeper discussion. I think they definitely clear up some issues. And while we don't do a mediation call with Colby and Madlyn, I felt like we kind of almost mediated their point of view on uncleared issues as it relates to their time while filming, specifically the understanding of like what was fair and what was not fair, expectations versus reality, some of those burning questions you have in terms of like, what was Colby really doing? What did he apologize for? Was it okay for, like, I understood a little bit where I saw both of their points. I thought they both made valid points. So I was enlightened. A couple housekeeping notes. We have a great Ask Nick episode for you. It's already out. It was out on Monday. If you are just tuning in for the first time or you've been listening to some of your favorite Ultimatum guests, we do this amazing show called Ask Nick on Mondays. As Amanda referred to, it's how did you describe it? I loved how you described it before. It was
you said it was like a brunch conversation.
Oh yeah,
adult brunch.
Yeah, emotionally mature brunch.
We go to very different brunches.
Listen, if you are feeling a little confused and a little helpless about your love life, whether you're in a relationship, a situationship, or single, or you're having a conflict, the people who listen to our Ask Nick episode feel a little bit more empowered.
Yeah, and like trying to get them out of their own way.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And as one reviewer described us as surprisingly insightful.
And substantive. Surprisingly.
So if you want to be surprised, if you're feeling a little like, if you've been going through this week and you think to yourself, nothing surprises me, and you think, how can this reality TV reject
provide insight or substance?
Either. Go check out our Ask Nick episode. Next week we have Kale Lowry and Colton Eckhart on Tuesdays. Clayton Eckhart. We don't have to even edit that out. Fuck it. I don't care. We're going to check in with Clayton, get his thoughts on on life since AFR. And on Wednesday, Josh Beck, who has done 140,000 podcast interviews. And we are lucky enough to
get his 141 and 1.
And we're going to dare him to give us some original content.
See what he comes up with.
Really
engage his ego.
I've never really called out a podcast guest before they come on our show, but he's done them all.
That's fantastic.
He's done them all.
Saving the best for last.
Yeah.
On the topic of interesting people, seamless transition. Elon Musk buying Twitter. How do you feel about it?
This is a deeper conversation. Like this is, I have a brother. I have lots of brothers who is on the far left of things. And he's of the belief that billionaires shouldn't exist. There's no place in this world for billionaires. There's a lot of people who agree with him. I even understand the argument, I suppose, but I'm not on that side of like we should abolish billionaires. Like everyone, like there should be taxed to the point where you can't, be a billionaire. Like anything else, I do believe in balance, and I think you can abuse your power and privilege. And if you have $1 billion, it's super easy to abuse your power and privilege. On the flip side, you look at people like Elon Musk or who owns Amazon?
Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos. Like, Amazon, you could argue, saved a lot of lives during the pandemic with people's ability to stay at home and order literally anything they might need, from groceries to supplies, and that technology that Amazon created probably saved some lives. So there's that benefit. Elon Musk is potentially creating and developing transportation that might save our Earth, right, in terms of electric cars and things like that. So like, I think this place has a world for incredibly talented and people with means, because there's a lot of bureaucracy and government that doesn't get things done. It's not efficient, so you can operate more efficiently, and billionaires can do that. On the flip side, like it can be incredibly scary and dangerous when someone has so much money and influence that they can like wake up bored and want to like stir the pot and buy Twitter or even threaten to buy Twitter. And what does that say about one person having all this control and power is a potentially scary thing. So
I'm also so interested in like the space obsession with billionaires. Like, you know, the way that I'm like, oh, I really want to go to Paris one day. Or they just like, oh, I really want to go to space. Like, is that like, it feels like,
that's probably what it is.
yeah, there's just this expansive when you have access to every single resource ever, you're like, I need beyond the worldly resources.
You know, it's like for other people, like, you know, we already talked about Coachella, but I went to Coachella last weekend, right? And I had been to Coachella before, but like there were moments there where I'm just looking around thinking, this is an experience. This is cool. Like I have to sit here and appreciate what I'm doing because like this is a unique environment, and like to be able to appreciate moments or first time moments or like, you know, like that feeling must be hard to find and replicate if you have access to anything. So maybe it must come from that need to feel and live and be and aim towards something, to experience something new for yourself, because everything is so obtainable when you're that wealthy is my guess. But and you know, if you want to fly to space on your dollar, like whatever. I don't know. I don't think I think even then they're not flying to space on their dollar. I think there's like I don't know how that all works, but yeah. As far as I know very little about the Elon Musk and Twitter of it all, but I will say, knowing very little, the idea gives me pause. I see the problems with it, but I don't know if I'm know as much to have an informed opinion on it. What do you guys think?
I just wanted to see exactly what the numbers were. What is Musk really doing with his $43 billion offer to buy Twitter? That's so much money. And if he's willing to just throw that away.
Well, throw it away. I mean, he's worth like 200 billion. So like, what's the difference? Also, he's made, how much did he make during the pandemic? So much.
So much.
I think it's at least starting a conversation about the fact that there are owners of Twitter, because I think sometimes social media has just become so integrated into culture and society that I forget that there are people who are doing like product design, who are making very deliberate choices, that it's still a business. It's not just like this forum. And so I think it's been a reminder that like, yeah, there's the potential that a billionaire could buy Twitter. And then like, what does that mean for like the way we like discourse about stuff?
We should play a game. Who's your favorite billionaire? I have a favorite billionaire.
Who is it?
Mark Cuban. From what I know about him, is that he seems like someone who, especially in his most recent years, as he's gotten older and more mature, he seems to be using his capital and his wealth to like help the common people. Like he started this company to give people like cheap drugs, like by cheap I mean like less expensive drugs, rather than some of the high priced, you know, pharmaceutical drugs that are out there. I remember Mark Cuban say, and I completely agree with him, that like everyone on social media should be verified. The fact that like this whole like blue check mark or verification process is meant to like have people like me feel like important and have some sort of status, like, oh, I'm verified. Like I think everyone who's on the internet should be verified. People should be held accountable for the shit they put out there. And if you're going to troll someone, if you're going to talk shit, you should have a name to the face, because it's so easy for anyone to like put out fake accounts and talk shit and things like that. And I think everyone on social media should be verified to hold people accountable. And I think the world will be a better place for it. And that was Mark Cuban's. I heard that first from Mark Cuban. I don't know if he originated the idea, but he's my favorite billionaire because I see multiple scenarios in which he has tried to do the right thing for other people rather than for himself.
It sounds like you gotta love Shark Tank.
Yeah, also you gotta love Shark Tank.
You gotta love it.
And I also love how he likes how he watches sport. He's a passionate person, but he seems to be a thoughtful, caring, empathetic guy.
Very quickly, switching to one more topic that has inspired a lot of passion. Taco Bell brought back Mexican pizza. And I think this is significant, especially for Allie, a known Taco Bell lover.
You're excited about the pizza.
I've never had it, but I would trust Taco Bell with my life.
I only get tacos.
What's your drunk food, Nick? Like,
I like Taco Bell.
Okay.
I only get tacos. I get 3 hard and 3 soft shell tacos.
Nice balance.
I
This looks
love a
good.
good gyro, but like only from Milwaukee or Chicago, because out there you can't find a good gyro in LA. I don't think so. If you've eaten a Chicago or Milwaukee gyro and you think you have a good, there are equally as good gyros in LA, let me know. If you haven't had a gyro from Chicago or Milwaukee, because there's a very large and Greek community in both cities, and they make there's some amazing Greek food in Chicago and Milwaukee. I've had some real shitty gyros in LA, and if you know of a good one, let me know. But the Taco Bell pizza, like, I've had it before. It's whatever.
Look at that.
Why? And people are excited. Like
Some people stare at stained glass. I'm gonna just be here all day.
I fuck with Taco Bell. I like Taco Bell. As far as like shitty fast food, I
Oh hell yeah.
better than McDonald's for sure. Taco Bell.
I feel like because I tried Taco Bell for the first time when I was like 19 or 20 or something.
What?
And I feel
That was
like,
your first time?
yeah, for some reason, and it's not like
What
a
sheltered life did you have?
You
Yeah,
were a Taco Bell virgin until you were
I
Yeah,
was,
that's so
yeah,
fu-
I was
I
an
actually-
old Taco Bell virgin.
I think that's kind of hysterical. Like we're all sheltered and not sheltered for different reasons depending on our parents. But like you, from what I understand, came from a very progressive liberal family, and you were probably exposed to things that Allie and I were definitely not exposed to.
I grew up in
Kale.
the gay part of Boston.
Quinoa.
Like the neighborhood in Boston I grew up in was like, there was just like there's a huge LGBT population. And so I went home from soccer practice one day and asked my mom, I was like, why don't I have 2 moms? So like I was definitely
yeah.
exposed to like a
Yeah.
large slice of the world.
but
that
you didn't
people-
have Taco
But
Bell.
Taco Bell was not on the menu.
I have like memories of like my mom is a boss woman, but like on Sundays when she would be home, like she would go to Taco Bell and come in with like big bags of Taco Bell, and like that was love, I think, and like everyone would get their little
That's how your mom showed love?
the chips and the cheese dip. Not the only way, but like that strikes
Yeah,
a memory.
That's the thing about being a kid, though. Like, it's amazing. Why as children do we love shitty food? Like,
oh my God.
I love it
why was
now.
I obsessed with Little Caesars as a child? Like, that's dog shit pizza.
Like as an adult, that would be like
Horrid.
crazy.
Horrid. But as a kid, it was like Christmas morning.
Yeah, it's like sugar cereal, like any of that stuff. It's just like,
Anything else going on in the pop culture world we need to cover before we get to Madlyn and Colby?
I don't know how we end on a higher note than that.
let's get into it. Madeline and Colby.
All right, Madlyn and Colby. Don't forget to send in those questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K, for our Ask Nick episode or mediation calls. We do have a great mediation call for you today after Colby and Madlyn. We got mother-in-laws, we got finances, we got rent, and I feel like we found a really good solution. So be sure to check that out. And once again, we love you all. Can't thank you guys enough. Also, little shout out. There is all the people who said hi to me at Coachella. Thank you for saying hi. Thank you for listening to the podcast. There were a group of, like Nelly and I were walking through the crowd, and I was posting something, and so I was like on my phone. I was also inebriated slightly, and then there was this group sitting on the lawn that was screaming my name. And they like recognized me, but I was like so out of it. I was like, why are these people yelling my name? Like, what did I do wrong? Lovely group. They listen to the podcast. Hi, if you're listening, you know who you are. And to all the people who said hi, it does mean a lot. Obviously, all the people who come up and are very appreciative of the show. So it really, yeah, thanks. I don't know.
I love that Nick goes to a festival and forgets he has 1 million Instagram followers. He's like, how do they know me?
I was like, why are you guys yelling at my name? I don't know. What did I do wrong? I'm very self-conscious sometimes. Madlyn, Colby. People don't realize that physical symptoms like headaches, teeth grinding, and even digestive issues can be indications of stress. And let's not forget about doom scrolling, sleeping too little, sleeping too much, undereating, or overreacting. All things that a good mental health professional can help you with. And we're talking about BetterHelp, people. BetterHelp is making it easier than ever before to connect with therapists and mental health professionals from the comfort of your home or the comfort from your car or the comfort from a road trip, wherever you are. You can literally maybe walk outside in the hallway fighting with your boyfriend at his apartment and talk to a therapist if you want. BetterHelp, again, makes it easy. You can go to betterhelp.com. You take a quick kind of assessment quiz to figure out like what it is you want to talk about. They assign you to one of their many mental health professionals. Also, you can make sure that you like the person you talk to. If you talk to them the first time, you're like, listen, I'm just not a fan. I mean, we don't connect. You just move on. It's like speed dating with therapists if you want. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy. Give it a try. So many of our listeners have tried BetterHelp. They love it. It's really made an impact on their lives. And if it's something you've ever thought about doing, I highly suggest and recommend you trying it. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Viall File listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Viall Files. That's BETTERHELP.com/VIALFILES. Marilyn Monroe, what an icon she is. There's so much about Marilyn Monroe I've always wanted to know, and every time I feel like I know everything about Marilyn Monroe, there's always something more. And our good friends on the Even the Rich podcast are taking a look at the glamorous and not so glamorous and tragic life of Marilyn Monroe.
She was just like a smart lady. Like, I think people put her in a box of like, oh, this like blonde bombshell. And I'm like, no. Like, you have to understand like the wheels that are turning behind the scenes.
Listen, you don't get icon status without being incredibly intelligent. And there's all types of intelligence, but you have to have peak intelligence to be an icon. Much has been written and said about Marilyn in the 60 years since her tragic death at 36. But what often gets overshadowed is the absolute force of nature she was while she was alive. Marilyn was a woman ahead of her time in so many ways. From the moment she stepped onto the first movie set, it became clear that it was her acting and intoxicating charm that brought her film's box office success. Listen to hosts Brooke and Aricia pull back the curtain on her legendary life and career. To listen to Even the Rich, Marilyn Monroe, go to Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or you can listen ad-free by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app. Madlyn, Colby, welcome. How are you two?
We're doing great. We're hanging in there.
Hanging in. You look a little stressed, Colby. Is that ultimatum stress or is that baby on the way stress?
No, dude. I've been working in the yard, doing some stuff around the house. I'm just trying to get things done before the baby gets here.
All right. Well, congratulations, obviously, to the both of you, both on your marriage and your newborn baby on the way. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
If we can, and I'm sure you guys know, we'd love you guys to indulge us and go back in time and talk about your experience, even though I know you have a baby on the way. But there's a lot of burning questions people have. And we had the pleasure of talking to April. By the way, she seems very grateful for your friendship. She has nothing but very nice things to say about the both of you, in case you guys were worried she was talking shit. She just talks shit about Jake.
Yeah.
Only Jake.
Really, honestly. But I'm really I think a lot of people are really fascinated with how you guys came on the show to begin with. Like, obviously, we know Colby was one who issued the ultimatum, but I'd love to hear from you guys in terms of like, was these ultimatum that Colby issued, was this like a topic of conversation that was going on between the two of you, or was it the show presented itself to you guys and then they were more curious about like who was more interested in getting married? Like, what was that casting process like for you guys? Because I think that was, a lot of people are really fascinated with that, because like, again, it's one thing to go on as a single person and be like, yeah, sure, fuck it, like I'll go find love. But like for a couple to be like, yeah, we should do this, is a whole different story. And I'm curious about the conversations you two had while going through this process.
Yeah. So we, like, from our first date, Colby was like, you're the one, this is it. He moved in with me after like 2 weeks. He was very like, we're going to get married. And I've always had my hesitancies. I just think things take more time. I loved him from the start, even though it doesn't really show. I needed more time and for things to just play out and make sense to me. And so whenever we were like approached the idea of the show as like, well, why the hell not? We'll put it to the test, kind of see who's right. And then also it was kind of sold to us like in a little more healthy of a tone. It was like, you'll have the opportunity to really see like if there's truly something missing from your relationship, if you're taking something for granted, which I felt like maybe I was, and maybe I really had something to learn from it. I didn't go into it thinking like this is going to be so chaotic and messy. It was like, we've got this. We know where we stand. We know what we want eventually. So yeah, I don't think we really knew 100% what we were getting into, but it did seem like a good fit. Like it fit where we were at the time.
Was one of you more excited or anxious to do it than the other, or were you on the same page, or was one of you pushing the other one? Because like obviously according to Jake, you're pointing your finger at Madlyn, Colby.
Yeah, she was definitely more excited to do this whole experience.
Really?
For sure.
I think I was more anxious.
More anxious, yeah.
Yeah, like because Colby's, I mean, from the start, like you see his personality. He's like, I'm Colby, you know. And for me,
yeah, we definitely saw the I'm Colby, yeah.
Yeah, and so for me, I was
That's
like,
that big cheese energy right there coming out.
God, but
Jeez.
Yeah, and he was like, it's funny because our roles really got reversed. Things changed whenever Colby didn't get who he wanted to be paired up with, and I did. That's where things kind of took a turn because Colby went into it like, this is totally cool. Like, I have so much confidence in us anyways. Like, we can do this, this, and this. But then whenever things kind of didn't pan out, and him and April got more stuck together than like actually had a connection, that's where Colby kind of had a little more anxiety for sure.
For sure.
Why is that, Colby?
Well, for one, I didn't go on as many dates as I did with the other girls. Me and April didn't really have the sit down deep chats before we actually got paired together.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, whenever at that night, at choice night, it was kind of like, okay, what am I about to get myself into? More so like prepared and knowing what I'm getting myself into. So it's just a lot more anxiety whenever things took a turn.
What was it like for you, like Colby? What were you feeling when you saw Madlyn and Randall seemingly have some kind of connection, right? And then you got essentially paired with someone you had no connection with. You're like, well, fuck it. I mean, April,
Right.
Beautiful woman, she's, bubbly, but you guys either A, didn't talk that much, or there just wasn't a connection. Was there any part of you that wanted to pull a Nate in that moment, knowing that like my girlfriend, who I love, is like vibing with this dude, and I'm about to like basically have a roommate for 3 weeks? Like,
Right.
were you panicking?
Well, first off, just starting off, like when you initially get there, I was walking with confidence, like before I even met anybody. I mean, as soon as you walk into the environment with the other 6 dudes in the room, knowing that they're going to make an effort to connect with your woman, like the confidence goes out the window and your jealousy goes through the roof. You know what I'm saying? So initially I was like, oh shit, like I don't know what's about to go on from this point. I think I might have screwed up bringing her here, kind of thing. But as things went on and progressed, and then as the week kind of went through and she started having more dates with Randall and I started to see that relationship develop, it definitely made me nervous. But knowing that I was still connecting with somebody on this side, I knew that we were both getting the experience, the full kind of experience out of this, what we were wanting coming into it. And then choice night, when things got twisted, knowing that she was moving forward with a solid connection, and I was getting kind of, forced into something I wasn't exactly agreed upon in the first place. Yeah, it made me kind of freak out, kind of scramble a little bit, kind of try to figure out a new plan. Knowing that me and April obviously shared the same energy, we both brought the same thing to the table. I just knew it was going to be a strong friendship from that point moving forward, and just accepting it and just turning it into something positive instead of trying to sit in my own, mess. I was just trying to, just create positive things out of it. So
I think there were definitely moments where we both wanted to run. In that first week, for sure, it was like,
that's an understatement.
We fucked up, get us out of here.
Sure.
But yeah, at that point, I think that we both also knew we weren't ready to leave with engagement. So.
Right.
Was there any part of you that was almost kind of like, in a weird way, do you wish Colby had an opportunity to do the experiment with Lauren?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I'm so scared. When I watched back, I was like, what the fuck? When did that happen? Like, and how did I miss it? Because we both, I mean, me and Colby, I think going into it, we both knew that we had the ability to connect with other people. We both value human connection, getting to know people. I mean, that's such a fun, exciting part of life. So I knew we were both capable of it. I didn't know he was doing it though. So watching it back, I was like, thank God she left. I don't know that Colby I think we would have split up. Like, I don't think he would have controlled himself as much.
Wait, so you think that if Lauren and Colby lived together for 3 weeks? I'll be honest, as a viewer, I was bummed that she was gone because I feel like she seems so put together and quiet, and then she has this sleeve of tattoo, right?
Sure.
And you're just like,
well, that's what kind of drew me in. I was just trying to figure her out. Like, she seems so unique, so different from everybody else, and that's kind of what Madlyn is to me. She just always stood out from other girls, and from the group that I was getting to have dates with, she was the one that really stuck out to me, and I wanted to just invest and see who she really was, because she was very quiet at times, didn't really express herself until we started going on dates. She started opening up to me, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, she's a pretty cool chick.
You're pretend she might be a freak in bed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Colby's like, yes, I know. No,
yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna say conflict would have split us up, but it would have put me in an entirely different position. I think I was very lucky to be able to have as much confidence and security, I guess.
What do you say about that, Colby? Do you agree with Madlyn that you would have been more tempted? Because she's basically, if I'm hearing Madlyn right, she's saying that she doubts your ability to control yourself in the heat of the moment when the stakes are risen. Do you agree with that assessment? Are you just as thankful? Because hey, sometimes we're put in situations and we make mistakes that we do wish we could take back. Sometimes we do make. For
sure.
What do you think about
that? As you saw on the show, yeah. I mean, I had many of those happen.
We'll get into that, but
yeah. So yeah, as far as that goes, I don't know if it would have been more so I wouldn't be able to control myself. I think it was more I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. I think it would have slowed our progression down as far as the engagement and all that. It would take a lot longer for us to restructure our relationship.
For sure.
Versus kind of at the end of our experiment, I guess, it was okay, I definitely know what I'm doing. I think if I would have been with Lauren, I would have been okay, maybe, I need to kind of, I'm with Madlyn at this point. Maybe we need to wait a little bit longer and make sure everything's, right. But
I think we both would have been a little more confused.
For sure.
Had there been.
Yeah.
You just slow things down.
What I loved about this show and what I like about this franchise as well, I come from a show that likes to either have people be heroes and villains, right? It's very one-dimensional. And
for sure,
what I love about The Ultimatum is that it shows people. And it shows people in their good qualities and then their toxic qualities, right? I think we saw toxic sides of everyone and we saw really endearing sides. What I loved about you two as a couple, my favorite moment for you guys, and I'm curious if you even thought about this or other people have told you the same, is that when you guys, after your 3 weeks of living with Randall and April, and you guys both kind of pulled some shit, there were some whatever moments. But the first thing that we saw was you two lying in bed and Colby saying to you, Madlyn, I don't really care what happened. I just want to enjoy this moment. And I'm a big believer, there's always a time, you always have to work through your shit. And yes, you have to talk through and have some tough conversations. But you two struck me as a couple that at the end of the day, just want to be happy with each other rather than being right about whatever it is that happened. And so that I love for you guys, because it seemed you seemed like a couple that truly cared about each other. And yeah, you're going to have some tough conversations, but you saw that love there, because you saw it with other couples that wasn't as easy. They needed to
for sure,
get to their shit right away. And I like that you guys, through your actions, stated that more than anything, this was priority number one. So
for sure,
props to you guys there. as far as the
Thank you.
other stuff, the toxic stuff, I'm really curious, Madlyn, you mentioned people might not see that, but I think a lot of the people thinking or watching it was, and I'm sure you heard this, is Madlyn fucking hates Colby early on. What was that like? What was your perception of what we got to see? We know things could be edited. Do you think that was accurate? Did you watch it back, Madlyn, and kind of were you surprised by how you talked about Colby at times? And Colby, what was that like for you to watch that back? And what conversations did you guys have with each other specifically about some of the early things we saw as it relates to how you guys talked about each other behind each other's backs?
I'll let Madlyn start this one off.
Yeah. So we were asked to discuss like what are, positive things and what are negative things about your relationships. So I did that. And Colby, I feel like we talked before about the things that bother me about Colby. I'm very like meticulous and could be nitpicky. Those are things that we also talked about during the show, but it's like, yeah, I get annoyed. I get overstimulated. Colby has all this energy and I'm like, let's just kind of mellow it out. Which
it's a good balance.
Honestly is a good balance.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes
I believe in balance.
Like I said, I was like,
sure.
Colby annoys me, so it's like, he does, that was true. I think like the negative things, I did say negative things and like, I guess I kind of stand by them. And that sounds awful. What I feel like I had to do was that I didn't do is speak as kindly and openly as about Colby, like as I feel like he did about me. It was awesome going back and just seeing how he just speaks his love and adoration for me all the time. And like, that's something that I think I was embarrassed to do or something, which is so mature. It was like I thought that like wasn't cool or something. And so now it's like, wow, that's something that I really want to do for him. Because I do love this man. And I don't know, I don't always have to, be cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting too watching this back because I think you saw a lot of behaviors from the cast that you see in the real world, right? I think there was a theme with the women on the show. And as a guy in relationships, I've experienced this. I feel like women have a tendency, or at least feel like it's normal behavior to be more nitpicky about their male partners.
Yeah.
Like it's like almost like fun and in jest. And I think you got to see how that affects men.
Definitely.
I think we're so used to, like women talking shit about their male partners, but they don't see it as talking shit. And honestly, like
For sure.
one thing I've learned in relationships too, like, in my current relationship, I used to laugh it off too. Like if my girlfriend would be like, oh, you're such an asshole or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, I would take it. I would laugh it off. I would act like it was not a big deal. And honestly, now in my life, in my relationships now, like I find that I stand up for myself more in relationships, and not like I'm in an amazing relationship, but like there are times where I go, yeah, please don't talk to me that way. And I recognize that
it's important to let that person know.
Yeah, they don't even realize, right? Like, and I think it's this kind of a behavior that like, oh, I guess, yeah, I probably shouldn't talk to you that way, but I'm so used to just saying it like this or saying it like that. And I do like how the show, maybe at your expense, Madlyn, of sounding a certain way, but I think I think it showed very relatable moments between couples. And what I liked about it is it kind of showed how men can feel insecure or how they can be talked about. And certainly we saw some toxic behaviors from the men too, and how they handled their emotions. But it was certainly entertaining, but I actually saw it as more of a teachable moment than anything. Rather than, I thought it was interesting to hear you say, like, you almost the pressure, like you thought almost what you're saying, Madlyn, is like, yeah, you thought, like when you said you were trying to be cool, were you trying to be cool to, who were you thinking about? Were you thinking about other women watching the show, or were you thinking about people? Were you thinking like, I want women to support me? You know what I'm saying? When you're watching it, what kind of self-awareness, like who was the person you were trying to be cool to?
Honestly, I think even myself, I think that I've had a problem like in past relationships and stuff, just feeling like I don't want to buy into this guy's shit and look stupid. Like I just want to be smart and I want to know the red flags. Like I want to see everything. I don't want to fall into anything. So I think that I've just kind of have overdone that so much to where it's like I wasn't appreciating and sharing my gratitude and love for my partner anymore.
Yeah.
So protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Essentially.
That makes sense. But there were some moments where you called out Colby that we quite loved. One in particular, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Colby, when it was after you lived with April, and then there was that moment where you talked about April's growth, and then Madlyn kind of called you out as like, who the fuck are you to like take
I
credit for
explained that.
What like
I explained
yeah.
that on the reunion. I did explain it on the reunion, but I don't think they showed it.
I don't think they did it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on why it sounded like you were taking credit for April's for growth. But I will say, and in your defense, April didn't. April had no problem with anything you said. So there, you have that going for you. But I would love to hear your point of view on what you meant when you were saying that.
Well, even like at the turnaround point where we actually get back with the original partners, when she says that, like, who are you to, be able to say that about women, whatever. And I was like, Shanique turns to me and was like, I don't think you're able to say that kind of stuff about me, like telling Randall he wouldn't be able to handle Madlyn. It was just, I'm not good at wording things, I guess, like not using proper, I don't know, like relatable things to say. But what I meant by that was just, yeah, she's grown as an individual. Like I've grown out of man. Like, to put it even, I grew as a man. Like I grew more into a man. You know what I'm saying? So like, I wasn't saying I turned her into a woman within the 3 weeks. I was just saying, hey, I'm recognizing your growth. I'm just very proud of you for everything that you've been able to go through and handle as maturely as you did. That was my way of saying, hey, you really grown into a woman.
That's the intention.
Yeah, that was my intention.
Always an extra level of confidence, I think.
Yeah, listen, I think every guy, and I include myself, has learned a tough lesson, and maybe this was yours, Colby, of well-intentioned talking to women about like mansplaining, you know what I'm saying?
Condescension.
Like, condescension, mansplaining, and like all well-intentioned, but when you hear it back, be like, why the fuck am I talking? Like, what the fuck?
Exactly how I felt.
Who asked?
Like, who asked? Like,
why
do I have an opinion about this? Like, so I've certainly been humbled, and it's just, I think a lesson all men probably need to learn and be humbled by it. So the good news, it seems like you're not defensive about it, but recognize, while you didn't mean anything by it, why it might sound the way it did.
100%,
On the topic of the 3 weeks where you were with April, one thing that she alluded to in her interview was that the couples would sometimes, or the original couples who went into this experience together would sometimes meet up off camera. And I'm curious, like, what that looked like, if it did in fact happen, and like what kinds of things were you saying to each other if you did get a few moments during that 3 week period?
We heard you even met up with the dogs too. So that's what we heard through the grapevine.
Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of actually times where me and Madlyn are having some like deep conversations, mature conversations about like progressing forward, about after hearing what like each other's done. So
we're talking about while you're with April. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you guys were like going
and all that stuff.
Yeah, like you guys, it seemed like not only you guys, but all the couples were kind of like keeping tabs on one another and meeting up, even if you weren't supposed to meet up, but like checking in on each other and having face-to-face conversations.
Yes, so actually, most of the times that we actually met up, it was more like ran into each other because we all stayed in the same apartment complex downtown Austin.
Okay.
But we also all parked in the same parking garage, like down the street. And there's only one spot to walk, and we only had like maybe an hour to walk, like get outside and do our thing, whatever, before the next filming or next time we went out or whatever the case was. So during those breaks, almost everyone was moving around, getting stuff done, within that time that they had. So everyone was out walking their dog, getting stuff from their clothes, doing laundry, whatever. So yeah, the times that we did meet up, we were able to talk about things and, exchange information, whatever, about what's going on, what we did with this partner, blah, blah, blah.
Did you guys, before you went on the show, and even before you guys separated with your temporary new partners?
Yeah, we set boundaries.
Yeah. What boundaries did you guys
For
set?
sure. So really, for me, I'm reading this guy's mind. We kind of think alike. Okay, so honestly, we were to the point where like just no sex. Like we didn't want to scare each other from embracing the experiment. Yeah, like really trying to connect with another individual. So like I would hate for a guy to get close to her and she like already stiff arming him. Like I want her to experience that closeness, the intimate stuff with somebody, just to really embrace the experiment. And I wanted the same thing. So sex was really the bottom line. Don't do that. Do whatever, but like
just sex.
Also,
so like,
don't do other stuff.
Oral was on
like
the table.
Like,
was oral on the table?
No, oral was not on the table.
I mean, we said sex, but we knew like in our heads, like connecting without saying it. Yeah, oral was obviously not on the table.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people were like curious because what we saw was a kind of this, we'll see. Another thing that we got was kind of confusing. It seemed like, and I think you got caught in this too, Colby. It seemed like at least some of the couples, and I don't know if you include yourself, where there was this other girl and April had this other guy. Where did some of the couples, including you guys, take this basically moment away from each other, your partners, as I'm just single, period, versus I'm single with this person who's part of this show? And I know you've answered some questions around this, but like, was that the mentality that you had that caused you from having some of these makeouts that was discussed? Because honestly, I found myself really confused watching, but like, who the fuck is he making out with? Who are they talking about? And then there was that whole event. So like, what was your mentality and how did you find yourself in a situation like that?
Well, you have to answer towards what your mentality was, but like those are boundaries too that I think were kind of unspoken. Like we went in going like, this is the experiment. These are the 6 couples. And Colby was all about, he's like, making out is fine. Like, blah, 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 blah. And I was a little more hesitant about that. I was like, what the heck? Like, what do you mean? But then I'm like, he said it was fine. Okay. So I think, like going outside of it, to me, like that's where it was like, this was not understood. This was not agreed upon. And it wasn't transparent as the thing. It's like, we came on here, we're kind of opening up our relationship in a way, but within a certain bounds. And that is what I felt like to me was outside of it. If there'd been, conversation and owning up to it, like before finding out, that would have been a little more understandable and whatnot. But I don't know. What was your mentality?
Yeah, Colby.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously it's an open relationship. Once you get into, basically when you first step foot into all of this, it's an open relationship immediately.
I think
opening yourself up to connect to other people, right?
Well, I think that's where people were kind of confused. We don't know. Like, we weren't there, right?
Oh.
It seemed like, and I think that was the big question. I think a lot of the audience was confused. Where is that what it was? Where you're just like, hey, a break. Like in the real world, you don't do this kind of social experiment. You don't agree to find one partner and temporary date. You either take a break or break up and fuck around with people or not, right? But this is this show, which is so like this show calls itself, it names itself an experiment, right? So I think a lot of us had this, as Madlyn mentioned, it was like limited to the experiment that we went on, but you took it more as like, well, we're in an open relationship.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, you go in there looking to see if you can connect with somebody else or not.
But if I would have like called up an ex-boyfriend, you would have been pissed. That would not have been what we agreed upon, correct?
I mean, that's a good point, I guess. I guess I can see where you're coming from there. I guess with the high levels of stress and everything getting mixed up and thrown around, and I'm seeing her, kissing Randall, and I'm not getting that out of, April or whatever. I guess I don't know. I just felt like she's actually going a different direction, like really starting to connect with Randall. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, I might walk out of this thing.
Yeah. Like
I might've just lost Madlyn, So, we've obviously been together for a while. I haven't dated or talked to anybody else, but it's like, this was a moment where we could.
I think the motivation and like the feelings are totally understandable. Really, like to me, it totally makes sense. It was just like,
I wasn't
we
transparent.
just needed to be
Yeah.
honest about it and
Well,
own
it
up
was
to our shit. Like,
it
that was
was it was bad boundary setting, I guess, right? Because
Yeah.
like
For sure.
hearing you guys talk, you know, when you said, well, we knew sex was off the table, and then I asked, well, was oral on the table? And Colby goes, well, we knew that it meant that it wasn't. And
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
thinking, these are two people who clearly are so connected, who know each other so well, but they're still assuming. And as well as they
Yeah.
might know each other, there are gaps and
Gray areas.
there's gray areas and expectations
Yeah.
and boundaries, especially around something that neither of you truly had any idea of what you signed up for. Because I will say, like, hearing Colby talk about it, yeah, I mean, I can put myself in Colby's shoes saying, we went on this experiment. My girlfriend is connecting with this really good looking, really charming guy. I have a friend, I have a pal in April. So like I need to go make out with some people. Like it like I could see how the fear of Madlyn making out right or wrong. I'm just saying whether like
Right.
I can
Yeah.
understand well shit, I'm at least gonna make out with somebody because like April was
Well, and
just
think
your pal.
about everything else that's going on too. I mean, you got other couples doing the exact same thing in front of you too. Like everyone was connecting but me, is what you know what I'm saying? So like even that was a bigger like I'm really
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just sitting on my hands in the corner over here kind of thing, you know? But it's not because I just wanted to get back at Madlyn. It's because I wanted to try to test our relationship. Like, am I able to connect with someone like that easy? Or is there something
Yeah,
else
I didn't
out
take it
there?
as a back at Madlyn. I took it as
Yeah.
I mean, she might not want to be with me, and I need to
Yeah.
at least start making out. I mean, I'm not agreeing or
get-
disagreeing. I'm just saying
Sure.
I can put myself in your shoes and
Yeah.
understand. Ellie, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So you obviously just said it wasn't to get back at Madlyn. You were just like sitting and you didn't have someone. But then on your guys' last dinner before the proposals, you were like, I had to make this real. And Madlyn asked you, make it real for who? And you said, for you. So I guess I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, like, you talked about how you kind of set boundaries going into it, but then, you know, external people were never part of that agreement. Like, looking back on that conversation specifically, like, do you guys wish you would have spoken differently about things? You wish you would have taken a different side of that argument?
Yeah, I wish I just would have owned my shit to begin with instead of stirring. You know?
Because that was what was so frustrating. Is because from the beginning, I was like, Colby, I understand why you did what you did. Like, I get it. And it's just, don't say you did it for like as a favor towards me, because we did never talk about that. Like, I felt like that was just my only line I had to draw. It's like, I get it. We can move on from it. You didn't tell me about it. That was kind of fucked up. And it wasn't what we agreed upon.
So what
Let's just-
specifically did you say to Madlyn?
Let me explain it real
Yeah,
quick.
okay.
Hold on, let me explain this real quick. So when we before we did the choice night, the first choice night, we had the last night together kind of thing where we sat down and had a dinner. I think you see it with Ray and Zay, with April and Jay. I can't remember who else, but you saw the little dinner inside the hotel room before we went to choice night. Well, we had one of those, obviously wasn't shown, but the conversation was, I don't want to feel like you're just going to be there at the end of this to where like I don't have to worry about anything. I'll just know you'll be there. And so she was like, I need you to make it real for me. And like, I want you to test relationships. Like, I want to make sure that you know that if we do end up together, I am
I wanted him to stand his ground.
Understood.
And
what I
be
was getting
like,
myself into.
This is where I stand firmly, and I'm not going to let you just do whatever you want and continue to make me wait. I wanted him to, demand.
So you did say that. Okay. I mean, that does provide some context.
Right. It's just tell me about it and say, it wasn't. Fucked after this. Okay,
man, it's just not shown. Like, none of it's shown, so no one understands why I'm saying this stuff, and it's really agitating to me because it's like people don't see the point where I'm coming from originally.
Yeah,
or the context.
I guess
So everyone looks at me as a jackass for saying I did this for you, which I still believe I shouldn't say that, because ultimately it is obviously my choice. At the end of the day, I did those things. But
I just felt like that going outside of the 6 couples was a boundary. Like, I thought that was set I felt pretty clearly.
Allie has a follow-up.
I have a follow-up.
And not telling me about it for 3 weeks was the thing.
Madlyn, how do you think you would have felt if, let's say, the roles were reversed and you kind of just got stuck with like a random leftover guy that you did not have a connection with and you were just buddy?
And him and Lauren are just like
I'm like,
staring
do you
into each
think,
other's eyes.
would you have like
Right.
tried to find a connection elsewhere? Would you have like stuck by your own rules and been like, well, I guess I'm just high-fiving my husband every day?
What if you got stuck with Nate? Could you imagine that fucking guy? Like,
I actually didn't mind Nate. I think Nate got a bad.
you got a bad beat.
He
Okay.
He was pretty cool in the dates, I'll say.
I'm gonna pick you.
One.
Yeah, he just reached out to me wanting to play golf, so he's really. I mean,
He's all right. Okay, maybe we shouldn't
he's
be so
all
hard
right.
on Nate. Okay.
Nate really is all right. Yeah, but. Okay, I mean, there's lots of. First of all, I mean, he did make out with April too. Like, he can't say that he didn't explore that. So I think
On the
that he
last
should've
night, by the
made-
way, I thought was particularly weird.
Yeah, he just had to get it in there. But I don't know. To me, it was just like, why don't you just embrace what you came in here with? She's an attractive, cool girl, and they had a lot in
Yeah,
common.
but I'm gonna stick up for Colby here. Like,
Oh my
you
God.
can't only because if we're talking about. Like, it's not about just. I mean, he ended up just making out with April for the sake of it.
Mhm.
I don't get that. But if this is about testing the relationship and testing your own connection with someone, you have to explore someone you're at least are vibing with. Like you were
Right.
vibing with Ryan Rando, so it seems disingenuous if if the purpose is to do that. And I mean, hearing you say, because I will say, like, it is interesting because. Again, if we're being critical of the toxic Madlyn, you know, we're
Fair enough.
you know, we all have toxic sides. We've all been like, fuck. I mean, if they were recording 23-year-old me with my 23-year-old girl, like like my first love, if we were on a reality TV show, it would have been a nightmare. And so, like, I give you guys a bunch of grace, but like to Colby's point, like you were. And you being critical, like I think it spoke to kind of, listen, men can feel emasculated. You were telling Colby to man up, and I think when a woman says that to a guy, especially in a relationship, it can be very confusing for a guy, especially while we're living in a time we are rightfully so trying to hold men more accountable for their toxic masculinity. And so that kind of juxtaposition of like, what do you mean I'm supposed to man up? And as you say, like, set boundaries and push back versus like be this kind of empathetic, loving, caring, nurturing guy. It can be confusing. And then you add this very confusing social experiment that neither of you have any experience in. And like, I'm willing to offer Colby some grace on that. But you still recognize that probably in the moment or at the end of the show, you were completely full of shit when you were saying, no, babe, I made out with her for you. Like, you probably definitely did it for yourself, but I get where it's coming from.
Yeah, I get where he's coming from too. And I guess to answer that question, like, if I were to have gone off the show and whatnot, because I felt like I needed to do that, the only thing I would have done is just told him about it and been like, yeah, I did this because this is how I felt. This is what I was missing. That's it.
I'd love to hear from both of you. What is one thing you guys learned about yourselves as a result of going through this experience that both while filming it and while watching it back, where you thought to yourself, I see this behavior I demonstrated and I don't want to do it anymore in my relationship with this person, if anything at all? Like, what is something that you guys learned about yourselves that you recognize as a behavior that you want to stop doing?
Yeah, for me, like personally for myself, it was like the level of drinking. But for our relationship,
What I like to call tailgate drunk, Madlyn. You were.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah.
That is on point.
That's a very fair assessment.
I'm from Wisconsin.
Drunk.
I'm from Wisconsin, so I'm very familiar with tailgate drunk. With
yeah. Girls' night was tailgate drunk for sure. But like for our relationship, it's just the way that I was speaking to him and jumping to conclusions, kind of like cutting off to be right, I guess. And that's a big thing that has changed with our marriage and with the position that we're in now. Like, I don't feel the need to defend myself so hard and fight so hard for myself. It's like fighting for us and trying to really find understanding, get past things in an entirely different way.
What about you, Colby?
Yeah, I pretty much same thing. You just got to realize that you're a team now. You're not independent anymore. Working together is definitely what makes a healthy relationship, and knowing that you're not fighting for yourself, but for the relationship, to be on the same page constantly. I think that's one thing that really opened the eyes to honestly all the couples on the show. Knowing that once you commit to something, you're committing to the commitment of both of you and not just yourself.
The marriage. When did you think about proposing or actually suggesting to get married, Colby? And Madlyn, did you sense that might be on the table at all?
Yeah.
You're nodding yes. Okay.
Yeah. I knew that with Colby. Colby, I knew if we get engaged, I'm married and pregnant like immediately. So I've got to be ready.
What did your
really
family say about all that? Like, did you guys end up doing like a celebration afterwards?
Well, I went and bought a dress, but then I got pregnant. So they're like, after I have the baby and like get the bod back, we're gonna celebrate.
Yeah, we've talked about putting something together for sure, and just kind of.
He wants his big wedding still.
Oh, that tracks. That's so Colby.
Resetting our vows in front of our family is important. Obviously, your family and friends are the ones who hold you accountable. For the promise that you make for that special person, and to hold you, true to it. So, we had our moment, which what Madlyn wanted was kind of more just us kind of thing. It was more
camera crew.
Yeah, intimate for each other, and this was an opportunity for me to take full advantage of. I mean, this is a huge stage, obviously, but in the moment during that little clip there, you see me getting on one knee. It's just us, with like 50 other film crew guys.
It was nice.
It's what she wanted, it was something that was special for us.
And talking about the small wedding that we saw on the show, my question when I was watching it is, I think you have to have 2 witnesses to be legally married to like sign the document. So
there's a whole team of cameramen.
But that's what I was asking. Did a crew member sign those forms for you?
Who signed it? Yeah.
So she made really good friends with one of the producers, and then I was really good friends with the exec producer, I guess, whatever. She was really sweet, kind of was there in the moment and wanted to be a part of it. So both of them actually the next day went with us to the courthouse.
We did it again.
She videoed it on my phone, and it was real special for us. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just to clear other things up too.
Yeah, what else do you want to clear up?
3 months after we got married and filming ended, that we got pregnant. Yeah, everyone's like, they got pregnant during the show. That's why he got on one knee. I was like, no. I got a plan, baby. I got a plan.
I mean, even if you did, who gives a shit? I mean, I don't know.
It's crazy.
Do you guys have, there's some drama going on between Ray and Zay on the internet right now. You guys must be following that a little bit. Do you guys have, no opinions?
No.
Team Ray, Team Zay?
Team Ray.
Team Ray. Okay.
Team Ray.
Why?
Yeah, I gotta say Team Ray too.
Why?
We saw what it was and what they were dealing with, and she's.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I'm not sure what's on the internet, but Team Ray, 100%.
You guys
they were facing a lot of issues in the relationship coming onto the show. I mean, there was a clear reason why she gave him the ultimatum. But you saw a soft side of Zay in some episodes, but there was a lot of nasty stuff.
Well, in all of us, I don't think we have to like.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't get into that.
Yeah, but
okay.
Yeah, Team Ray.
Yeah,
Team Ray. Okay, a couple rapid fire questions I have for you guys. Who's more of the drama queen between the two of you? Madlyn.
I think Colby.
I think Colby.
I don't know. I keep it pretty real. She's kind of.
Colby, can I offer you some advice?
Yeah.
May I?
Just accept it. Yeah.
In my experience, being in a heterosexual relationship, if you're the guy and you're the drama queen, you win. It's great. I am the drama queen in my relationship. I haven't always been the drama queen. Now, I have always been a drama queen, but I have dated people who are more drama queens than me. And when you're a guy and you're dating someone who's less of a drama queen, it is fucking awesome. Like, I'm definitely a drama queen.
I'm more of a control person, but yeah, I think he's
You're
of
more
the drama.
dramatic. I'm definitely more dramatic in my relationship for
Yeah.
sure. Like not always,
Yeah.
but like generally on a day-to-day basis, like it's a
Okay,
gift.
yeah, probably. To be honest, if I'm really thinking about it, I probably would be more the drama queen.
I know
for
it's
sure.
not used to say because we just
Can we
I
say
think
drama king or drama queen? Let's go drama king just to make it a little more.
That's not better.
I think you just embrace drama queen, man. Just embrace that side.
All right.
Yeah, you got that. You got that feminine
Drama queen,
side.
babe.
I think that's a good thing. You know,
Me too.
you're an empathetic, soft man, and I say that in a great way. That's the side you like. You don't like that.
Really.
No, I accept it. I'm a teddy bear, dude. I'm lovey-dovey.
There you go.
But
It's okay being a drama queen. I think I never thought about that. I would have been defensive too. I would always be like, no, not me. I hate drama. And I'm like, that's
Right.
maybe I like it. Maybe. I mean, you don't end up on a reality TV show if you don't like a little drama.
for sure.
Right.
Who's quicker to say I'm sorry?
You think you are?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for her to kind of
No,
buckle
it
up.
depends.
I believe that.
Last night I said I was sorry. I don't know. Last night I said I was sorry. It really just depends on who's wrong, I guess. I think we both can fight pretty hard.
We're
But sometimes people
bullheaded
they're
for sure.
like I'm definitely in my like Natalie's amazing.
Who's the better driver?
Yeah, who's the better driver?
Ooh, wait. So are we in
Me, I
traffic?
think-
We going around town? Are we like late to an appointment? Like, what are we talking about?
I'm the better driver in all those scenarios.
Like, we have like the same driving.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I mean,
It doesn't matter, Colby.
No,
Leave it alone.
If we're going down I-45 and we're late to an appointment, we need to get somewhere. I'm Mr. Zoom for sure, but getting places safely.
Because we're carrying a child. Yeah.
Do you guys have a name picked out?
We do. We're not sharing it.
We're not going to release it yet.
Is there any way I can change your mind? Have you literally said on this podcast?
No names. No name dropping.
No.
Fine, fair enough. So before we let you go, and it's entirely up to you guys, we have people call in. And if you guys want to we want to do potentially a trifecta. So usually what we do is we have couples call in just like this, and they call in with something they've recently fought about or they have been fighting. Not something that's like going to break you up, just like something that like we always butt heads on this topic, and it's just like a recurring thing, and I mediate. And it's not about picking a winner. All these conversations end the same way, and that is it's about helping each other see each other's point of view and empathize with each other a little bit more. We don't pick winners. And so my question to you is, do you guys have a topic you'd love to discuss with us and have me mediate?
Like we haven't been fighting enough.
That's
maybe like decorating a space, like in the house, I guess. Like we're
Okay, projector or TV then, because that's very
projector.
specific.
Come on, are you kidding me? Let's blow this sucker up. We got
You
NBA
want
up
to-
there.
Is that a serious enough topic?
Do you guys actually disagree with it? Do you guys get mad?
Yes. Yeah.
We've had taco night be a conversation, but there's always like, where do you peel back the layers in terms of? But if you're getting frustrated at each other and getting mad and having to like agree to disagree or like take a time out, then it's worthy of discussing.
Yeah, I think it boils down, like the initial argument is like TV versus projector, but I think it's just like practical versus Colby trying to make things, I don't know.
Trying to make
whatever.
I've got a pretty creative mind, so
I think
it can go places.
So who's in charge of
Mhm.
decorating the living? Like who's the decorators? Is it a team effort?
It's pretty even.
Yeah, I feel like
We try to make sure it's a
yeah.
comfortable spot for both of us, where it's just like not overwhelming with girl stuff, but also like not a man cave. You know what I'm saying?
You're trying. So
Uh-huh.
are you trying to get a big screen TV / projector, and Madlyn will let you?
She broke me, and we got like a 70-inch TV, but it's close enough to projector, I guess. So
Well, I have both. So
see my guy. See, he gets it.
I have an 85-inch, and outside I have
A projector.
180-inch 4K projector across.
See,
the
we're
pool.
getting there. Okay.
Outside that makes sense. I think there's other things.
And I absolutely
that
don't need
we
either of them. Like
Yeah.
at
Right.
all.
Yeah, we hardly ever watch TV to begin with, to be honest with you. We're always outside, venturing off, hiking, whatever. But when we are home, Netflix and chill kind of night, it'd be nice to have something, or a game's going on, or Masters, or whatever. It'd be nice to have a big screen and some boys over.
So you guys aren't really fighting about it all that much. So
Yeah, we're really not fighting about.
I'm pretty easygoing. I gotta be honest with you.
We haven't been since the show. My God. So we haven't really.
So do you really? I mean, obviously, no regrets. You guys got married from it. You have a kid. How often do you guys talk about this? Like, does it come up now? I mean, obviously now it's been airing, so it's a topic of conversation. But how much between it ended and filming have you been like, what the fuck did we? I can't believe we did that. Like, do you get into these? Have you ever? Did you fight about the show all that much?
We didn't. We were leaving it. Again, we had one of those moments where it was like, that was hard. That showed the ugliest sides of ourselves. Like, all we want to do is be better for each other. So we talked everything out and disclosed everything, and until we got to an amicable point, and we didn't fight about it until the show came back out, and we're both getting backed up on our shit, And so it kind of brought the fights up. And it's like, she had a good point. She says you have red flags. And I'm like, well, I heard you have, that kind of brought it up, and we had to
this new
talk
term,
it out
this
again.
new term,
it's not new. Gaslighting is not
gaslighting.
new.
I've never heard of gaslighting before.
Well,
but apparently
it's definitely not new. It's also now wildly overused and misused and misunderstood.
Well,
but
and I think especially in situations like this, when you're having like a super heated argument, like I think most people have tendencies to do this have these toxic behaviors.
For sure.
Like,
yeah. I mean, people often confuse like good, healthy people and healthy couples can have toxic traits and behaviors and toxic fights. I mean, no couple in a long-term relationship is not going to have moments where they need to apologize for the behavior. I mean, essentially,
right.
And if you have to apologize for behavior, then you were toxic at some point, right? Like that's a no-brainer. And then, gaslighting is an actual form of abuse, and it's just the internet has watered it down and repackaged it into like a way to articulate feeling like you're not heard, or your partner's not listening to you, or ignoring you, or trying to like convince you of things, but yeah, people, you guys, the biggest takeaway there is you guys should just not listen to the internet or read comments, but
right. But yeah, we felt a little backed up.
Someone's going to give you shit for saying that you have never heard of gaslighting, though, Kobe. Just a heads up.
Yeah, for sure. That's
just a heads up.
They also gave me shit for being narcissistic. I didn't even know what that was.
That's another word that people are wildly misusing.
But it was funny. He looked it up and he was like, "Oh, like these." I do see some of these qualities. So it's like there's a self-awareness there. So, and that's healthy.
Well, we have a narcissistic society, and we all have traits of being narcissistic at times. That's different than being a malignant narcissist who's borderline sociopathic and dangerous to the people they come in contact with. Two different things. But yes, we all can be narcissistic, but it's like it's selfish. It's like we decided that the word selfish wasn't as impactful enough, and we've just replaced it with being a narcissist. But that's just is what it is. Any final thoughts from you guys before we let you go? Anything you want to share? Anything you want to clear up? Get off your chest? Put out in the world? Any advice you have for the people listening in terms of like, hey, young couples out there, if you're going through this, we made this mistake, don't do what we did, et cetera, et cetera.
I think just in general, be kind to one another, love each other, choose your battles wisely. And if you really love somebody, I mean, love will always overcome. So just time your best friend, and just love, man.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I just felt being able to watch it back, it was hard to like watch me fight with myself in knowing how badly in those moments, like I wanted to love Colby and choose Colby. And it was just really hard for me. Cause again, I felt like I was going to be losing something or look dumb if I was wrong or something like that. So I don't know, I guess to people that are on the fence like me and worried about always being right, like not letting yourself fall into something. I think it's a good mindset to have, but it has to stop at some point. You have to draw a line and let yourself love and be loved too. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate you both coming on. All the best to both of you. Congratulations on the marriage and the child.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing more baby content whenever that happens. So best of luck, and thank you guys for coming on.
You know, get yourself one of these now.
There you go,
Oh my
man.
God,
I'm
no.
glad you're not wearing that fucking hat. You got too good of hair, man, to wear a hat like that. Like I don't know.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about cutting it soon, so we'll see.
When
right.
when your wife tells you that you don't look good in something, I just think that's a great time to like listen to
Let's
your
go
wife.
ahead. Let's go ahead and clear that up. I'm glad you just brought that up. What do you think about my cowboy hat?
Yeah,
You
that's,
like-
that's what you should mediate is Colby's hat.
Yeah. You
I
like the
guess,
hat.
Yeah, that would be. I don't hate it. Like I'm a,
Dude, she
I
bought
just-
me a.
I just think he's
My nicest hat
extra
I
with
got.
it. Like it's just part of Colby, like just trying to show out a little bit, I think was what bothers me. Like I don't mind. It's not the hats. The
It's
hat's
wood.
not
Wait,
the
so
problem.
oh, I see. So you actually think objectively looks good in the hat, but when he puts it on, this alter ego shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, kind
Dude,
of.
it's something I'm comfortable in, you know? Like, let a man wear a cowboy hat if he likes to wear a cowboy hat. That's what I say.
It was just like, I don't know, walking in like in a suit and a cowboy hat and all the girls are excited. I'm like, this is such shit. Like, I don't know. But I don't hate the hats. I just feel like it's just him trying to put on something that's
Wait, but Madlyn, are you, because you're saying it like if when you didn't know Kobe and you came in walking with a hat, you're saying it like it would have totally worked on you, and that's what pisses you off now.
No.
Because now you know
No.
Kobe and you know he's like a human being, and like he's not like, and I say this not as a dickish way, Kobe, he's not as cool as you originally might have thought when you didn't know him, because none of us are, right? When we meet someone, we
Right.
get nervous, we're like, I don't know, I don't like my current girlfriend or vice versa, like we're like scared to talk to this person we now are in love with, right? And you're like, oh,
Right.
because they're so cool. But like now it's like you don't want him to wear that hat because you're gonna be like, ladies, he's not. He's just fucking.
He's not actually that cool.
He's a
Yeah.
basic white guy.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Oh,
part of
okay,
that.
hold on.
I said
I'm
that
not
with
the
love.
average white boy.
Col-
I'm not the average
Come
white
on.
boy.
Yeah.
Colby, we are. It's okay. It's fine. I'm sure you're wonderful, but like you know what we're saying.
Why don't we do a double date? I'll go get drinks and then you can find out.
All right.
And I won't wear my cowboy hat.
I'm sure you're wildly dynamic. Yeah, you were a one runway model. I found out moments before. Is that true? Is that?
I've done some modeling in the past. Yeah, not
You
a lot of it, but yeah.
You looked very pretty.
Thank you.
You're a handsome guy.
Is the baby gonna have a baby cowboy hat? I think is the better question. Is Madlyn
Probably, yeah.
is Madlyn
Yeah.
gonna allow the baby to wear a hat?
Yeah,
She's
the
the one-
baby can wear a hat. Yeah, the baby will look cute in a hat.
But it's
So contradicting, I
I think
swear.
that-
women all yeah, but women look great in cowboy hats. It's they
Dude, cowboy boots, Daisy Dukes, a little crop
I
top.
kind of
and a
agree with
cowgirl hat.
Madlyn here because it's like when a guy puts on, like, I don't wear cowboy hats, but I'm sure there's a version of me wearing something where I think I'm really cool. And
Is it a scarf?
Like the high top Vans.
Nah, those are cool. I like those.
these are
Now I got them thinking.
these aren't Vans. These are Italian
All those.
polos.
Oh.
All those,
Oh,
no.
I like them.
Guys, thank you so much. You guys are great. All the best to you guys. And if you guys are ever in LA or we're in Austin, we'll take you up on that double date.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
All right, take care, guys.
Pleasure
Best
talking
of
to
luck.
y'all.
Nice
See ya.
talking to you.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, since Madlyn and Kobe are very much in love and don't really have something they're fighting about to do a mediation, we're going to play our mediation call now. Very relatable stuff. We got mother-in-laws, we got finances, all a big melting pot of potentially problems. And let's see if we were able to save the day once again. Let's get to our caller. How's it going, guys?
Good.
What's your names?
I'm Ellen, and I'm 28.
And I'm Chase, and I am 30. Yeah, and we're married.
And we've been married for a year now, but together for 3.
Okay. How can I help? Who wants to tell the story?
I'll let her go first because she's the one who has been the most intimately involved in it.
Great.
Okay.
I am waiting for one. So far it's been unanimous. It's every mediation call. It's always
Yes.
But-
There's always one person.
it's always the woman so far. It hasn't been the guy. But one day the guy will be like, I'm the reason we call. Anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
You're good. When we first got together, we were living at his mom's house with his mom, and then through a series of lots of circumstances, she moved out, and we have the house now. And we've been waiting on, through the course of our relationship, we've been waiting on certain milestones to happen so that we could decide whether or not we want to keep the house or whether or not we want to move out and find our own place. A few of those factors are the fact that Chase was waiting on a sellout from his company that would give him a huge cash out, and we were going to use that potentially as a down payment. And then secondly, we were not waiting until we got married, but until we got the pressure of the wedding done so that we could decide whether or not we wanted to pursue a place. And then we also had to consider the fact that through a series of an executor and a trust, that the house technically belongs to his mom, but she's kind of our landlord. And so long story short, we got married, and then Chase had the buyout, and it was less than we anticipated. And also the housing market kind of blew up in where we are,
Like blew up everywhere.
exponentially.
Yeah.
And so now we're trying to decide what we want to do. And the thing that I'm having the most trouble with, and that I would like an external person to get involved in, is that we can't ever seem to finish a conversation about it without getting into, oh, well, this affects this, and this affects that, and this
Sure.
affects that. And then we reach a certain, what I think is an impasse, and then we don't talk about it anymore. But then also there are certain things that I'm just like, oh, okay, then we're definitely staying here because the rent's super cheap and there's not really a lot of cons to staying here.
There's not a timeline either.
Yeah. Except that his relationship with his mother ebbs and flows, not in a tempestuous way, but just in a way that they don't really communicate the way that I like to communicate, which is logically and very straightforward. They get really emotional about it and really manipulative. But that's also just the way that they communicate. And I'm coming at it from a completely different background. So I feel like I'm an interloper, but it's also part of my life. So there will be certain things where I'm just like, okay, we're staying here. It's the best fit for all of us. And then she'll say, oh, but I need this much more rent, or I need you to pay the taxes, or I need you to pay the bills, or anything like that. And then they have a conversation that's just 20 text messages long that's about that, where they just start yelling at each other over text. And then he has to come to me and say, hey, she wants to do this. And she's super sweet. And she has this belief that like the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law is the most easily compromised relationship that you can have. So I think she's just trying not to conflate it with this side of it. So I'm trying to understand that and respect it. But at the same time, I need to have a conversation with her about it.
Gotcha.
And so I'm trying to have a conversation with him at the same time that he's trying not to be emotionally overwhelmed by her about these factors.
Chase, do you agree with your wife's assessment that when you fight with your mom that you guys can be manipulative with one another?
It's just aggressive. It's like it starts off as passive aggressive and then it just turns into aggressive-ness.
So do you agree that you would like to do you like how you communicate with your mom?
It could need some help. It could need some work.
Okay.
Specifically about this topic.
Right.
But I guess
Everything else is
but I also there's like, because when you said to Chase, like, I don't like how he communicates with his mom, my first reaction was, that's none of your business.
Yeah.
Right. Now you went on to say, well, there can be manipulative and things like that. And that's also your opinion. That's why I asked Chase what his thoughts were. Like, listen, if you're seeing two people you care about communicate in a toxic, unhealthy way, like obviously, like it's good that you're there to help or like say, hey, it's you seem upset or blah 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 or whatever. Like, can I help? But also, like, it's got to come from Chase. Like, you know, he's got to get to the point where I don't like how I talk to my mom. It doesn't feel healthy. And ultimately, you just have to be careful that it doesn't frustrate you more than it frustrates Chase. You can't want it more for Chase.
Mhm.
right? So I think sometimes we do that with our partners, and we have an opinion about a situation that we see because we're there and we're that third party who's like our partner, and we tell them how they think and feel and respond. And that just like, especially in an emotional situation when it comes to family, I know it comes from a place of love. It can feel sometimes like it's not helpful. And I don't know if that's how Chase feels, but it can sometimes feel like you're not helping me communicate with my mom better. You're just telling me I'm doing it wrong. And I don't know, how do you feel about that? So I'm just really curious about that, because when you talked about that, I'm just really curious how much of it is a priority for you to fix how you speak with your mom. Like, is what Ellen saying helpful, or do you feel like a little helpless? Like, well, yeah, it sucks, but I don't know what to do about it.
It's probably the latter, honestly. It's like, because I mean, we've been doing this pretty much my whole life. It's gotten better, I would say, probably in the last 5 years than it was, growing up, right? And, up until my, when I was a child, it was pretty good. Then when I hit, puberty, and through puberty all the way through college, it was really, really rough.
Okay.
Our communication just like always fell through, and it turned into a lot of screaming and fighting. And now we're to a point where I think most of our conversations are more constructive than deconstructive. And I think that just overall, the relationship I have with my mother is better than it ever has been, even if it is still a little bit tumultuous at times.
Gotcha. Well, hey, listen, a lot of people have challenging relationships with their parents. And remind me, I just want to make sure I understand. Your living situation is that you are currently renting from your mom.
Right. So basically, the way the house is set up is that there's this house and another house, and they're both in the trust. Right.
Okay.
My grandmother left them both to us. So it's me, my brother, and my mom. We're all in trust together. So I then pay the trust about $600 a month, which is nothing. Right. It's very minimal, especially when it comes to rent. Right. And then on top of that, I pay all of the bills. Before this, it was, and we were living here for probably about a year before that. And I was paying just like something even smaller, because I was just renting out one room when I was here. So it was $250 then. Right. And then once everyone moved out and we got most of her stuff out and helped her move into the new place, then she's like, okay, well, let's talk about rent again. And we went back and forth. And we settled on, I would pay $600 a month, but then at the end of the year, I'd pay the taxes on the property, which ends up being about $2,000.
Okay.
And so that's our current arrangement. And then at the end of this year, we're going to talk about it again. And I think we're talking about bumping it up to 800. And the overall goal here is to put in enough money into this house to make it rentable, right? It's a decent sized house. Before putting some money into it, I think I could have rented it for probably $1,000 pretty easily. But now with all the improvements that I'm putting into it, new lighting, new ceiling fans, I know that I can rent it for probably closer to 15, right? 1,500. So the idea is to put enough money into this house to make it profitable for my mom when I move out, right? And then also be able to save up enough money to be able to have a down payment on a house and move out in hopefully a year or so.
A completely different house.
Yes, completely.
You're not considering buying this house or anything.
No,
this house is
this will stay in the family for as long as we need, and if anything ever happens, this will be a place that any three of us could return back.
Gotcha.
To.
So you were gifted by these properties. You guys have chosen to. They're in a trust. You're gonna basically use them as investments. You're currently living there right now, so you're paying the rent and things like that.
Right.
So what is, I guess, the challenge then? This all sounds reasonable, what you're talking about. What's the challenge, or what's the specifically, like, what's causing the conflict between you two?
I think the challenge is that she feels like we're stuck, right? We can't really move forward. We can't really move backwards, right? Because every time we've set a goal, right, we've been moving that goalpost a little bit further, right? And I think the frustration comes from the fact of not knowing where we're going to be in a year, or not know where we're going to be in, a year and a half. I think that's where, and then on top of that, plus putting money into this house instead of putting money into a savings account, right? So, but I think I've done about the most that I want to do. I put about $2,000, $3,000 into this house currently.
So out of curiosity, when you move out, like you, your mom, and your brother will be like splitting the equity, right?
Right. Yes.
See, but that has never been established.
So,
Because we're not selling the house, it would potentially be just for rent.
right. So
And so
it
all of
passive
these-
income.
Are you the
All
only
of
one
these-
putting money into the house?
Yes.
Yes.
And it sounds like, Ellen, you have some concerns about the time and money he's putting in and the security of how that will be split. Because, yeah, that doesn't seem totally right. Like, if you're putting, especially cash, right? Like, that's quantifiable. Like,
Yeah,
you
and
should,
so-
first money in, first money out type of thing. Like, when you should be able to recoup your financial investment, and if not, then that should have changed the equity. You're putting more equity
Right.
in, whether it's the
Right.
cash you put in or also your time. Your time is
And I think-
equity as well.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, and I'm going to talk to, we're not even to the point yet,
No.
but I've talked to my mom about this in the past, which is that, however much money I put into the house, over whenever you start renting it out, I want some portion of that rent back to me, to recoup that cost. And then from there, the majority of the money would either go into the trust to, keep funding the trust, or go to my mom as passive income.
Well, actually, I mean, I think a better way of saying it to your mom, because when you say I want a portion of the rent, that kind of can be confusing.
right.
So, like, if you put money in, so if you put $1 in, if you spend $1 on supplies, you should be able to get your costs back,
Right.
right? So there's that.
Mhm.
That you can tally that. You can keep the receipts. You can quantify that.
Time value
And the
of
second
money
one is
too.
your time, right? So like you and your mom should agree on an hourly rate of like what you are worth your time and work that you put in, because you're not doing it, then you would hire like some sort of contractor, whether it's plumbing or construction work or like concrete or like finished wood or working, and they would charge you a fee. So don't call it half the rent. It's like separate, right? Because half the
Right.
rent makes it seem like, what do you mean you get half the rent back? It's
Have the
like,
trust. Yeah, have the trust recuperate.
yeah. So
costs.
you're just essentially billing the trust.
right.
You're just a contractor, right? And you might be, and maybe the reason why your mom and then you and your brother agree to hire you is because you're cheaper. Like you're doing it at a significant discount. Because a plumber or electrician or a contractor might charge 2 or 3 times more. I don't know. And so, but I think that's what you just need to make things very clear, because when you say a portion of the trust, that's gray and it seems unquantifiable.
Right.
But the hours you spend in an agreed upon hourly rate and the supplies at which you built, that's easily quantifiable, and that's what anyone would do. And fine, get a third party to determine like what your worth is if you guys have a hard time agreeing on what that is. But that shouldn't be all that hard to set aside.
Mhm.
And then it's having
So then-
conversations around like, yeah, and then it's just like whatever that number is, you get reimbursed.
Right.
We
So
mostly-
what did you have any
We
other?
mostly just have trouble initiating these conversations.
Like, I don't know if this is the solution, but it definitely will oversimplify, which is like maybe you just agree to paying fair market value to the rent and then not pay the taxes and not be the one solely responsible for the bills, because that's not how it would be done
Right.
in a non-family situation. Like
Right.
I pay my bills, I pay my
Moving
taxes,
from a family situation
Yeah.
to a legal situation.
and I charge my tenants fair market value and I pay the bills. But because you're getting a discount, now it's just like, well, if you get a discount, then maybe it would be more fair if you pay the bills, and then all of a sudden you're not getting a discount anymore. So why don't
Right.
you just pay fair market value and then have the trust pay the bills? Now you're still going to be a third responsible for the taxes and the bills, but like that should be deducted from the trust. Like, and I only say this because like my uncle's like an accountant. I was an accounting major, but like I have my uncle who does my books, and like, I'm like a one-man shop for some like one of my businesses, but I have to like be cognizant of like where I'm taking money out of and what accounts I put it into, because like if you were to get audited or whatever, like they need to be able to account for that stuff. So like you shouldn't be pulling like stuff from the rent. Like the trust should be paying the taxes and the trust should be paying the bills. Those where you should be writing checks from, and your rent should be from your personal name, right? Because you are the tenant. So why don't you just simplify the accounting essentially and just do what you would do, like treat yourselves like you're like tenants. The tenants you would be if you moved out and you rented there, right? And then have everyone agree on that rent. And if your rent goes up, so be it. But like that's the right way to do it. And it gets really complicated and confusing, and you guys are trying to negotiate or compromise on things that are kind of arbitrary and don't really make sense to, like, if you went to an accountant, they'd be like, well, why are you doing this? Correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like if you can figure out this like conflict you have that's ongoing with your mom, that seems to be like easily fixed, because there's a clear answer, which is like, stop trying to do things because it's family and just do it the right way.
Right. See, the thing is though, and then that's where it kind of gets a little more difficult, right? Is because if we start doing it the right way, then that's $800, $700 less that we're able to put in a savings account.
We're not putting that money into a savings account though. We're spending it on a house and we pay the bills.
Let me ask you a question. Like, do you have an answer? Yeah. Do you even know what your total expense? Like, if I'm your accountant, I'd be like, what does that cost? It's simple math. And maybe hire or get a bookkeeper or someone, like, what are your taxes, what are your bills, and what is your rent? And add it all up and separate the two. Right? Because I don't know. It doesn't sound like you guys know. Like,
well, I do.
Okay. But like it's something you should literally be able to put on paper, on an Excel spreadsheet, and determine whether it's costing you more or less. Because you're fixated on the rent, and to Ellen's point, you literally might be paying more overall. And if it's not going into a savings either way, what's the point? You know? So get a handle on your finances and be honest with yourself about, really getting a discount. So you need to just do the accounting right and make it simple, so like it just is what it is, and find out what is the best possible. You both need to get on the same page there, because you're clearly not. Like, you think you're paying more than you otherwise would, and you don't know.
Yeah.
So
it ends up being, I've done the math before, it ends up being like $500 less overall per year. So I mean, it's really not that much.
Okay, so for $500 $500 over the course of the year, and like, I'm not here to tell you how you should value money, but it doesn't seem like $500 over the course of a year, when you told me $600 for 1 month, is worth this conflict with your mom that's constantly ongoing. So like, pay the extra $500 in rent over the course of the year. Or not, or maybe negotiate it after the fact, but negotiate in a way where the accounting is clear. Make the accounting clear.
Okay.
Be a united front, and even though you delegate tasks, it's for the benefit of both of you.
Right.
Because like, you're delegating tasks, and like, Ellen, you're not seeing it as a benefit to you, and vice versa. You're like, why are you looking at houses? We can't afford our house right now. Like, well, how that's unhelpful.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Is this helpful? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Okay.
All
right.
Yeah. So we'll talk in 6 months and see how it goes.
All right. Sounds good. Best of luck, guys. Wow, we did it.
Heroes.
What are heroes?
Not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah.
Some of them wear headphones.
Sometimes they just have mics. Thank you to Madlyn and Colby. Thank you to our mediation callers. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castmedia.com, cast with a K, for our mediation calls, our Ask Nick episodes. Can't thank you guys enough for listening. Subscribe, rate, review, all that fun stuff. We are back on Monday for our Ask Nick episode, along with Tuesday, Kale Lowry, Clayton Eckhart, Wednesday, Josh Peck.
Get mediated.
Get mediated.
Please get mediated.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching, but before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos, like our Monday's Ask Nick for your favorite relationship stories and advice, and our Tuesday Bachelor recaps. See you next time.